Well, we were talking about Jurassic Park before you hopped on, so that could be.
Yeah, we were. I mean, I think
Michael Crichton segue.
Yeah, I have my InGen mug, one of the great fake corporations in cinema. We make your future is the tagline. They've innovated a lot, and there's another great corporation that we will talk later. I'm obsessed with film corporation, like fake film corporation, because they have the most generic names. They seem to have unlimited resources without any accountability, which some do modern day, like real corporations. And I just love the audacity of some of these CEOs or executives in fake corporations. We get like Umbrella Corp. There's so many of them. Skynet,
ITC.
ITC. I mean, it's just endless. My goal is to, and maybe you guys can help convince my wife, is to have every single big fake movie corporation mug and just have like that's our where you get coffee. Everyone's gonna get. There'll be like a Skynet.
Oh, that'd
mug,
be so good.
Yeah.
Umbrella Corp. That's.
Oh, I'm totally blanking on more of these like fake movie corporations, but that's such a fun. That would be a fun idea for a podcast to just research like these fake movie, but like I feel like I see YouTube recommended videos that's just like the percentage of employment rates of like towns in Skyrim or something like that.
That's Annie Austin does those.
Yeah, but to do like is this company making money, and it's like InGen or any of those other fictional companies from movies, like doing a deep dive into like their overhead. It's like, oh well, our turnover was pretty high last quarter because the dinosaurs got out and murdered a bunch of people.
A lot of HR compliance issues with when you have a lot of high level rate of employee death.
Half our budget is going to HR.
It's a lot going to HR, a lot going to the lawyers, but it's necessary, and a lot going to the matching outfits. That seems to be a trend. Is like, especially Jurassic Park, the like pink polos and khaki shorts. It seems to be really focused. So these are corporations that every detail matters. Besides the actual thing that they create that usually destroys the world or causes destruction.
Yeah.
But uniforms, not gonna screw around.
Aesthetically, it's a genius corporation. Perfect. No notes.
You could make a good chunk of episodes just off of like it makes sense that you suggested this movie then, because like that kind of stuff is Crichton's like bread and butter.
It is.
You mentioned like Jurassic Park. There's Westworld. I'm pretty sure there's also one in like Congo, some kind of like the branching corporation that oversees that.
Crichton loves to go after a corporation. That's one of his trademarks, which I appreciate.
Those are the true villains of all of those books and movies.
It's greed.
Welcome back to There Will Be Duds, ladies and gents. This is episode 126 of that show that I just said. And I'm your co-host TJ, aka just that. Just TJ, and with me as always.
As always, I am Nick. We used to say our Twitch handles at the end, but we don't really stream anymore on our personal pages, so it's been a long road trying to train ourselves to not say that.
Mostly just me.
You're who you are. You're just your normal names, the names you were given at birth, and that's okay. Yes. That's enough.
And with us today is Luke Ferris, podcaster, writer, producer, Michael Crichton fan, in that order.
It's in that order, gentlemen. There will be duds. We're here.
Yes.
TJ, Nick, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks for reaching out. And you guys really made a dream come true for me, because at the start of the year, my podcast, Least Important Things, which is a storytelling podcast about the most important of the least important things in our lives, I put down in this spreadsheet of like, okay, I want to do an episode about this film that came out in 2003 called Timeline. But I didn't know how to even make an episode on that. And I knew maybe people didn't want to hear me have an hour-long episode on that. You are making this possible for me. You're making a dream come true. My bingo card has been checked off, so thank you for having me here. It is an honor.
We got to make like a Duds Industries coffee mug with a
Yes.
logo
Yeah,
that's
there
like,
you
you
go.
know,
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
dreams come true. You know?
That's true.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Sweet. Well, we name dropped it a couple times, but that movie, as usual, we watched a movie, and that movie that we have mentioned is Timeline from 2003, directed by Richard Donner. It follows a group of archaeologists as well as just Paul Walker as they travel into 14th century France near the end of the 100 Years' War to try to find Paul Walker's character's father, who disappeared a few days earlier. They have some clues and whatever leading them there. So yeah, they kind of find out that time travel exists. So they go back to try to rescue him, and that's it. They got to try to come back to their own time, as well as escape the many different people in medieval France who are trying to murder them. And yeah, as we said, this was brought in by Luke. I usually ask the guests, like, why'd you bring it in? But you kind of already primed us. So I guess
I can go further. I mean, this is a big deal for me. Okay, so
Sweet.
this film, 2003. Let's think about this era. Just if you're listening and watching, think about it at a time when Marvel Studios didn't exist, where these superhero blockbuster movies didn't happen 3 times a year. There was this thing called a PG-13 action movie where they had maybe one F word. It was a very simple, exciting plot, and they had a couple stars and a lot of character actors with crazy different plots. It was a very special time and era in film history, but also for me. This was one of those first movies that I can't remember exactly where it was. It was probably at a friend's sleepover where you could rent a PG-13 movie from Blockbuster Video, Family Video, or a local video store and watch this. And then it was a movie that was on television a lot. If you were like me, I was watching TBS or whatever basic cable channel that showed these kind of movies because they were pretty family friendly. So this movie, Timeline, is one of those movies in that era of my life, and I always think about it. Like, it comes up at random times in my life, just moments of this movie. And I haven't watched it probably since I was a kid, and I've been really wanting to rewatch it, but I needed 2 people to join me on this quest to watch this movie. And so that's a little bit more of the backstory and why I don't feel bad, because this podcast is called There Will Be Duds, and this is a dud for sure. But I'm really excited to talk about this because it's fascinating to me.
Okay, so you're the Paul Walker trying to rediscover this old part of you, and
Yes.
Nick can be Gerard Butler, and I'll be
Yes. Don't
Francis O'Connor.
tell me how it works. I just gotta find my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that though, because like I was pretty young in 2003, but I know that feeling like exactly. Like there are a handful of movies that I can think of that, if you look at them now, you know, you could kind of be like, like it's not PG-13 rated, but The Last Samurai, 2003.
Yes. Oh, so
Obsessed
cool.
with that movie.
So cool.
Love it. I remember being at my cousin's house watching like the Chronicles of Riddick.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh,
you know,
nice.
that 2003. Yeah. There's like a certain look and feel to these movies from that time period that, yeah, it's very nostalgic. And Billy Connolly's in The Last Samurai, who as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh yeah, that's the Scottish guy that's yelling at Tom Cruise when he's learning about Japan and samurai culture.
This movie is an all-star movie of late 90s and early 2000s character actors.
Yes.
It is a
It's
bountiful
jam-packed.
blessing of, that guy from that movie. Oh, that guy
Yep.
from that movie. It's spectacular. It's like if the Avengers happened with just these character actors from these action movies in this era. It's actually a little bit kind of like Endgame. I mean, maybe a similar type of time travel.
Oh
feel like
yeah,
we were
right.
watching-
Yeah.
But
I
don't
feel
want
like
to
we
get
were watching
into
a movie like we were watching something not too long ago where I noticed that there were like so many character actors that I was like, it's like, yeah, like the Avengers of character actors. I love that.
Yeah, it wasn't.
All we're missing is like M. Emmett Walsh.
Yes.
Or,
yeah.
Michael Sheen, I didn't realize he was in this movie, and he popped up as Lord Oliver, and I was like, I just clapped. I was so excited to see Michael Sheen. Yeah, he was a young-looking Michael Sheen. He's a good-looking guy. He looked great. He was loving. He was just happy to be there, even when his castle was being attacked. I know we're jumping forward, but he was so thrilled to be doing that.
Yeah. Even his like IMDb picture, he has that like wormy little smile where it's like he's up to something mischievous. I
love Michael Sheen. He's one of my favorites. There's not many people who can play a lycan and a vampire in two different franchises. It's pretty impressive.
Right.
Crossover.
Yeah, that was. I was like, where do I know this dude from? Why have I seen him before? And it was the Twilight movies, because he plays one of like the Volturi guys.
Yeah, he's the main Volturi,
that's
and he steals the show. I could watch 8 hours of Michael Sheen as a Volturi. He's like, oh yeah, he's having so much fun. He's so delightful as an actor. I love him.
Yeah. I remember watching like the riff tracks of the Twilight movies, and every time the Volturi they were on the screen, the guys were like, oh. But yeah, he's in this. David Thewlis, who was like, this is right around the time of like Prisoner of Azkaban,
right?
But like,
yeah, it is
same year.
It's Thewlis. I'm sorry, you keep saying it. I have to correct. I'm sorry.
Okay, Thewlis. All right.
Sorry. But yes, I love him too. There's a ton of dudes like that through this, like I said, that Avengers of this era of actors like those.
It was
guys.
Twister. That's what I was thinking of.
Twister.
Who's in that?
Yeah.
I watched Twister like over the summer.
Oh,
Twister's
and there
another
are
one.
so many character actors in that. That's what I was thinking of.
Also a Michael Crichton movie. So there you go.
What?
Yeah.
What is going on with like these Michael Crichton movies?
Dude, he was
and just like being stacked.
He was the king of the late '90s, and
this is bread and butter, dude. Yeah.
Like
it's like
between
Park
him and like Stephen King, like who are the writers that are like that have the most adapted movies of their works, like of all time? Because
he's like the sci-fi adventure of Stephen King. Sphere is another movie that came out around this time. I was like watching this. I'm like, man, we should have just done a triple feature of like this, Sphere, and Congo. That would have been so awesome. Because all fit into the same mold, kind of.
Yeah, same genre.
The same feel. I mean, much earlier, but like he did like Westworld, which now is like an HBO show and stuff. Vastly different than like the original, very simple movie, but. Andromeda Strain was another one that was pretty big, based on one of his books. I know he's got a couple more. 13th Warrior, that's one from right around this time, is based on one of his books too. I used to be a big Crichton fan in high school. I read a handful of his books.
And this movie has the distinct honor of being the last movie that he approved as an adaptation.
I think he hated this. I think he despised it from what I read. He was not happy with this movie. But I think it was a thing where he was not involved. Like he just gave the rights or sold the rights early on. So he didn't have a lot of say in this movie compared to Jurassic Park, where he essentially co-wrote it.
Right, in the IMDb trivia section, it says Michael Crichton took the unusual step of offering up the movie rights for free, provided the movie entered into production immediately. Crichton had a back-end deal set up on the basis that his script be used for this movie. Ironically, Crichton ended up hating the finished movie.
With most of America.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard of this movie. Didn't even know it existed until you told us about it or suggested it.
Whatever, it must have been the Blockbuster in Traverse City, Michigan in 2003. Really had a lot of copies because I saw it many times.
Yeah, this is like the perfect Blockbuster movie. Like it even has like the orange and the blue movie cover, which like I don't know if you've ever seen like someone. I feel like someone took like an analysis of all these movies, and it's like blue and orange, kind of like with that little gradient in the middle.
Yes,
is like
with the faces.
One of the most common like movie poster. Like this almost looks like a poster for a movie that they would like Photoshop real quick to be like a fake movie poster in like a TV show, or like you're watching an episode of Sopranos and they go to like a movie store and they're like, we need a movie to put on in the background on these shelves. Timeline, perfect.
Right. The writing, the dialogue of this movie, in the plot line, it feels Sci-Fi Channel. It doesn't look like a Sci-Fi Channel movie, but like it definitely feels like a Sci-Fi Channel production movie.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
It kind of has that like sort of convoluted, like high-tech science-y plot.
Yes.
Where, you know, honestly, if they had like spent too much time talking about like actually how it works, I think that would have been even worse. But yes. I do like well, in the sense that like
a little bit more.
Yeah, we found a wormhole. They're like, and that's it. Yeah, that's it. We found a wormhole. I don't know, man.
They just rushed. They were rushing them into it, to the machine, and the audience. But we were both
like, anyway, come on.
Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Just get in there. And we have to go now.
And I love that you have that bit with Neil McDonough. He plays Gordon, the like security guard guy. Who goes back with them.
Another guy that I'm like, I've seen you somewhere.
He's in so many things, and he got a backstory, which was nice.
Yeah. But I love the bit with him explaining how their things work, the things that like send them back to the present after they go back in time. Like they wait until they're in France and they're running from all these people and they're in danger and threat of life and getting split up. Okay, now this is how this works. Oh, okay.
All right, guys, let's spend 20 minutes doing this. Meanwhile, they're being attacked. Yeah, those were like, I feel like those were like necklaces from Hot Topic or something like that. They were very cool.
Or like those like they almost look like sand dollars, like the sort of like necklace, like the shark tooth necklaces that were really popular at the time. It's like they just raided a Hollister before they made this movie, and they're like, nah, these will work. Paint them black, sure, got it.
Gordon, is this it?
Yeah, I think so.
Is it?
You think so? Are we in 1357 France? Or I mean, this could be my grandparents' house in Oregon.
Gordon's never wrong.
Shut up.
Are we there?
Trust me, we're in 1357 France.
Well, if this is suspense, I'm home. Huh?
Come on, let's go. Oh, let me explain the marker to you. Press your thumbnail in here. It shows the remaining time. Squeeze it and it takes you home, but don't squeeze it.
Why?
Because we haven't found his dad yet.
I noted that when it's like the opening title screen, you see a timeline, like there's a line with the years on it, and at the far right end is 2020. I was like, that's weird.
Ooh, wow, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I caught that.
That felt very
it's always fun with movies like that are like, oh yeah, it'll be like 2023 by the time that happens, and we're like currently in 2023. It's like, oh, that's not what the future's like.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. But yeah, they learned the mechanics of it literally like right after one of their dudes gets like shot with an arrow
and pulls a fucking grenade out of nowhere.
Yeah, there was no context. He just was rogue. He's like, I'm bringing a grenade. I guess the whole idea is that the grunts that are all working for ITC, they're getting burned out. They know something is up. Like they know this is they've been sent multiple times. The guys, they've lost people. So I guess they're kind of taking it in their own hands. Hey, I'm bringing a grenade. I don't really care about this, because Neil McDonough's character, he has kids, so we immediately sympathize with him, or we're supposed to. But he wants a family. I got a family. If you had the movie from his perspective, it would be a whole different movie if he was the lead character. And he gets the only F word, which I appreciate it. But obviously the grunt men, the expendable crewmen of ITC were getting antsy. They knew something was wrong.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I did like the way that they sort of reworked in a previous guy. It's like Descartes, and he's like Decker.
Oh,
and he's like I've done this mission so many times where like if I go back again, like I won't survive the trip back, which really made me want to see like a David Cronenberg version where like you see like David Thewlis. I tried. You see him like the guys coming back that just have like arms sticking out of their chest and just like kill me. Like
that was the most interesting part of the movie that they could have like really dove into. Is like
they brushed past it real fast, and I was like, hold up, what?
Because we have the guy that opens up with the the Burning Man attendee walking around in the desert. Discovered by a guy in a GMC, and then like that's where we learn about the atom splitting.
Who was, fun fact, the guy driving the car? That was the director. That was Richard Donner.
Okay, I figured that was it looked like it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was a little close up, and then I saw like man in car or something like that as like what he's credited as or something. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, neat. Yeah, I did note that like despite how like my primary interaction, I guess, with the movie as it was going on was questions. Like I had a lot of questions about how this movie worked, but I also was like thinking on the flip side, like it's kind of commendable how this movie just doesn't give a shit about like like it's like you said, like thinking of like this pre-Marvel, just like current blockbuster era where movies were like this, where now everybody's online and they like scrutinize every little thing about the movie. But here it's just like they're just gonna have a time traveling movie. Everybody's speaking modern English, no question about it. Nothing,
Yeah.
Wouldn't they if they're time traveling? If the wormhole goes to this specific point in time, wouldn't they go to the exact same point in time that his dad went to? So they wouldn't even need to look for him because he would be there. There's a lot of little things like this, but like Ed Wood said, filmmaking's not about the little details. It's about the big picture. So nobody's gonna notice that.
Well, can to your best of your ability, can you describe what the actual big picture science of this is? Because I had a really hard time. Like, can any of you?
You mean like how the machine works? Or
yeah,
whatever?
like can you Stranger Things explain it? Like,
well, from what I understood was
this goes here.
Was like there was like they were attempting to do like teleportation science. They were trying to figure out how to teleport from one location on the globe to another, and they said that like in so doing they discovered a wormhole, like a rip in time and space, I guess, so that whenever they activate this thing, so it's actually like the thing that they were trying to make didn't work how they wanted it to, and instead it is a time machine, but it's only to this fixed point in time and space that it sends them back to. And that's why I was confused about the whole, like, it's like, oh, it is tied to this specific point because they, like, sent the cameras back. They're like, these are all the cameras, and it's some forest, so we pointed it up in the stars, and it's this, we did, like, star mapping, and it's this specific point in France. It's, like, April 4th, 1357 or whatever. And that's what threw me off with, like that makes it seem like every time people are getting sent back, it is to this precise point in time. And yet, if that were the case, it doesn't matter if his dad got teleported back 2 days time back in our time. He would be sent to that specific fixed point in time, so that when they go back in time, they are also being sent to that specific point in time.
Right.
But
so
that's not how it works.
They would have found his dad before he gets captured.
They would have been literally the exact same point. He would have been there when they went there. That's how it should work. That's how it should work in my modern analytical blockbuster brain. But watching this, I'm just like, whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, and that's always the thing with time travel movies is like there are so many rakes that you can step on when you make time travel movies, to the point where you just have to like say I don't care if like the science, the science behind it doesn't necessarily make sense. Because it's like because like that there were like weird dark implications, at least that I interpreted from oh god, what's his name? Merrick.
Dakar or
they find the sarcophagus and he's like missing an ear. And I thought that was so funny that all the stuff. Oh, you thought it was going to be him instantly?
I was like, oh, that guy kind of has Gerard Butler's hair. Oh, that's him. That's definitely him. I knew Anna Friel was in this, and I'm like, okay, so Frances O'Connor is Paul Walker's love interest.
Yes.
Gerard Butler's got to he's going to be the one who finds the love interest in the past, and
as soon as he's like, oh, what's her name? Oh, who's that? I was like, as soon as that happened, I knew he was going to like stay in the past because every like sort of like romance time travel cliche you can think of is like in this. But on some level, I kind of appreciated it. Like, oh, here's this thing that we find in the beginning. How is it going to pay off when they go into the past and they affect the future? But then it's like he goes into the past, falls in love, gets his ear cut off, and then decides to stay.
It's me.
But then it's like, he's like, wait a minute,
I'm the guy.
Yeah, his voice mixed over. They like mixed his audio up over all the other action. Be like, my ear, it's me.
Yeah, I noticed that too. He was born in 1971, but now he went back to the past. So does that mean he's not born in 1971? Like, it's one of those almost like a Looper situation where it's like, how many guys are there? Where
made the comparison before. This literally is how Endgame ends, the last Avengers movie with.
I'm saying it's there's a lot of comparison between the I don't know if the writers were watching Timeline in the writers' room for Endgame. Actually, they're like, look at this, they did it.
That would be very funny.
Even the machine that they're in that sends them back, it's like that circular. That's similar to how it looks in
Which I love that that room could take a grenade going off. And they're like, oh my God, like things are smoking, computers are busted, everyone, like people got blown through like windows. And they're like, oh my God, how long is it going to take to fix all this? We found, like, we developed the technology to like do like Star Trek shit and move someone from another timeline. How long is it going to take? Like 5 hours.
5 hours should be fine.
Yeah,
we can get it. We can
should be enough time.
It was because it was a spark grenade. I think it was like it just shot sparks out. It wasn't like an actual like explosive. It was just like
okay.
Shoots sparks.
That's why
out.
the body wasn't charred and exploded.
No. Right. Yeah.
It was just a
because that's
grenade.
like. It's like, oh, this is a PG-13 movie because his body is intact.
Yes,
because otherwise,
totally
if a grenade
fine.
had gone off like that close, it would have just been a wet red mess explosion.
Yes. So we talked about the technology and TJ, thanks for explaining that to me. I feel like I understand it. In the mind of the movie, if we go into the movie, what is International Technology Corp trying to do? What is their goal? Is it just exploration?
The only real thing that he says, or at least that I keyed to, was like he was saying, oh, we're gonna put FedEx and UPS out of business. So it's like this science corporation is just they're gonna become like Amazon or something. I don't know. Like, is that why they're doing this?
And was he the CEO? And then like the other guy, the actor's Matt Craven seemed like the science guy. I didn't understand their relationship. Are they co-founders?
Yeah, I don't know who was in charge, but they were the two they were the two owners or COOs or CEO or whatever of the companies, of the company. I don't remember the exact it says that David Thewlis was president, and then the other guy is VP. So
okay. That makes sense.
It's just so funny that they develop this technology and are basically just sending people to their deaths, or like basically creating people that like their insides get turned outsides, like if they do this enough, also they can like deliver mail faster.
Hey, Amazon.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
it's like it's
part of Amazon. Jeff Bezos was the intern.
Yeah, he watched this movie and he's like, I like what this guy's doing.
I like this thought process.
Yeah, is it too far off base for like if a major corporation today found a wormhole and that had the same implications and problems, would they not also like try to use it for personal gain?
Absolutely.
Only instead this time they would send drones instead of people.
Yeah, true.
So it would be like, it would be some like crusade or like one of those old fashioned wars, And then next thing you know, like history books would change, and it would be like, and then the day that the winged ones showed up and rained down lasers from the sky, and it's just like some dude like eating Cheetos in a room piloting a drone, just like completely obliterating just like a bunch of guys with like bows and arrows and swords.
That's timeline 2. Coming this fall on the Sci-Fi Channel.
We got to make it. We got.
How old was Paul Walker's character? Was he supposed to be like a college kid?
I think
Or
that
just
was
like
the
kind of a bum?
idea, right? Because they were.
He was
'cause
kind
they're
of a
all supposed to be
doofy,
like
yeah.
I think they're all supposed to be college age or like fresh out of college.
Master
thing.
students, like doctorate
Yeah, maybe,
students. And
So, like, mid-late 20s, I would
yeah,
say.
because he was going really hard for Frances O'Connor's character.
I know.
And that was a full rejection.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
weird. That was
It
the
was
weirdest part of the movie. for me.
That is the one thing about this movie that has not aged well, is especially when they're at one point
they're
when
in the
looking at
tunnel?
or then they're looking at the
I know what you're
computer.
talking about, yeah.
He like puts his arm around her when they're like looking
She,
at the
like-
computer. When his dad's lost, like they're trying to figure out where his dad is, and he's like, "Hey, baby." Like,
Yeah.
wow.
She even like looks at his hand, almost just like what are you
Which
doing?
is good. Like they're aware of it in the movie that he's being creepy, but it just was so funny.
Like I'm waiting for him to just like grab her cheek. It's like, oh no, stop! I felt so. I was like, no, don't stop pulling. I was waiting for him to like rebuff him, like push his hand away, just be like, come on, dude. Like your dad's in trouble, and you're trying to like make
he
a
was,
move.
he was full on. And I have another question. Speaking of attraction to ladies, was Andre Merrick, Jerry Butler's character, did he ruin everything? Like, is his pursuit of this woman was the reason that everyone died? Because he kept leaving.
Oh, I see. Like through the course of the movie. I thought you meant like
Yeah.
after the, history repercussions afterwards or whatever.
I mean, they couldn't get back because of the grenade guy, but it just seems to me his pursuit of
Oh, why they
Lady
couldn't?
Claire.
I see what you're saying.
He just continued to pursue her and cause problems.
I was definitely confused at a few points as like why don't they like they're like when they're questioning when they first meet Michael Sheen and they're like Francois the French guy and he's like really interrogating him and like being very threatening. I'm just like I would have fucking hit the button. I'm like, sorry, I'm not doing this anymore. This is too much. If I was Francois, I'd just be like,
Justice for
I'd be gone.
Francois, that character, that's one of the things that sticks with me about this movie is he's so scared throughout the experience, justifiably so, and then they kill him in a very brutal way. Like, so that his character always stayed with me. I just felt so bad for him.
Yeah, for real. Yeah,
because he's like, let's leave. We're attacked. Like, this isn't gonna work. Like, let's go. Like, as soon as they get ambushed when they get there, he's like, we gotta go. Which is, he's right.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
The one
and they
guy
have to
who's
convince him to go too, because Ethan Embry, he's the one that stays behind.
Oh,
He's
the
like,
youth
this
pastor?
is too. Yeah. He looks like he aged like 15 years since Can't Hardly Wait, which was like a couple years before this. Yeah, he like stays back. He's like, this is too dangerous. This is crazy. And then Francois is like having second thoughts, and then they're like, oh, please, we need you to interpret all these French people that can speak perfect English.
Yeah.
And they convince
That
him.
is true.
And then he dies. Like,
Yeah, they definitely kind of completely undercut his any sort of like emotional weight. Like there because there really wasn't any instance where being non-native speakers was really a problem. I mean, it's like their accents kind of like, oh, you're Scottish. Oh, I'm at war with the Scottish too. So like that's a problem. But yeah, everyone speaks English, so he definitely did not even need to be there. He's like the one guy that realized, wait, none of you know the language. None of you have been trained in any sort of like medieval weaponry at all. Like they just threw some potato sacks on him. And I was like, you'll blend
You'll
in.
be fine.
Totally
we need
fine.
you. We need you.
yeah, you'd think they would at least like, being historians, they don't know exactly the exact thing that's happening at this specific point, But they could be like, okay, this is French territory. We might want to dress in French garb. I guess they're just going for like the generic peasant look, but like that seems to make them targets anyways for some reason.
Yeah, because they're getting chased around that forest all movie. I mean, there's a lot of chasing throughout the movie.
Yeah, there was a couple other moments with the like Paul Walker like macking on Frances O'Connor that creeped me out. I can't remember.
Hey,
but
all it takes is to get a girl is just go in a time machine. Apparently,
I
and have a
guess
life she was like, screw it.
Yeah.
This guy's not leaving my side anyways.
Yeah, cause like you said, there is that part that I noted where he puts his arm around her, she like gives him a look, like okay, yeah, like you said, they're kind of addressing it, but then there's just a point where like after he is being very schmoozy for like the fourth or fifth time, where she just reciprocates it, just all of a sudden, it's like, oh okay, I guess she's she likes him again now.
Yeah, it's like
She's cool with
the
it now.
scene where she's about to like kind of climb out and go. It's like their escape attempt. She
That
just like
sounds right.
wait, and then like turns and just like fully makes out with him in front of like his dad and Merrick.
She's like, this guy's so horny, I gotta give him something. Like, he will not let me go. And he grabs her hand when they go in the time machine initially, which seems like a no go. Like your molecules are about to be destroyed.
Yeah,
Don't grab the other person's
they
hand.
show up in France and their hands are like fused together, and
That's where it would be a fun Cronenberg or a Rick and Morty episode or something. That's where it was like it could have been something totally different. I think we need to talk about probably the harsh part of watching this movie, besides that creepiness of Paul Walker, is when they actually are in the time machine and their faces.
Oh yeah.
it was so funny. I was dying. Like each of their like separate like.
It was either like they're about to like they're the constipation face, orgasm face combination it was a lot. Kudos to those actors because they were told to do that and they went for it. All of them went for it at all times.
Yeah, the introduction of Paul Walker, like, so I know he's in like the Fast and Furious movies. I'm not sure of like anything else that he was like super big in. This is like post Fast though. This is
after the first
like
one.
Yeah.
So he is like top billed in this. So it's like it makes sense. He was probably like
he was in a handful of things by now. Joyride might have been around here. That was my early Paul Walker. Like that was a movie that I watched like 20 times when I was younger. Was Joyride.
But the first time I saw Paul Walker, I was like, he is not a great actor sometimes, huh?
Hey guys, hey, what are we gonna do? Like, what do you think about this?
He works for the Fast and Furious movies, you know, but he is just like total surfer dude this whole movie.
Yeah,
it's a bad fit. If there could have been someone better, because it's weird to have Paul Walker and then Gerard Butler in the same movie, because Paul Walker's character doesn't do much at all.
No.
Like at the end, he saves the French lord.
Right. Yeah.
But that's pretty much
the Merovingian.
Yeah, the Merovingian from. Yep. Yeah, that was another cool.
Another good
guy.
Easter egg. Yeah, but that's really all he does. Besides, like, be angry. Like, we gotta find my dad.
Yeah. There's a weird makeup of these core characters, because you have Chris, who in the book, is I totally forgot to. I wanted to pull out I have this book.
Have you read it?
Yeah, I read it back in like high school, so it's been a long time.
Okay.
It's mostly pretty much the same from what I remember, but it does explain some of the technical stuff a bit more. It's a bit more intelligent as far as like that kind of stuff. The science side is, because that's Michael Crichton's whole thing.
Right.
But anyways, Chris in the book is not the professor's son. The professor doesn't have a son. He's just the professor. And Chris is another archaeology student. So in this, it's like they cast Paul Walker, and then they were like, nobody's gonna believe that this guy's a fucking archaeologist. So let's tie him in. He's the guy's son. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. The professor is Scottish. Okay. But then we need another archaeology student. We need another like lead because we need like a man who has to like know this stuff when they go into it. They got to have a smart lead guy. Okay, so we're gonna cast Gerard Butler, who's also Scottish. So because there's a whole thing with like him being Scottish and with the English back then and whatever. But he's not going to be Billy Connolly's son, and it's a very weird having these two Scottish men who are not related but have the same fucking hair and like facial hair and like could totally be like father and son, play father and son. But it's weird that they have that, and yet Billy Connolly's son is Paul Walker from Malibu Beach. Basically.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, like you said, like Paul Walker really doesn't have that much to even do. So it almost seemed like Merrick cared more about getting Billy Connolly back than anyone else did. So again, it's almost like you need to watch this movie and just mentally clock that and be like, no, actually, Paul Walker is not his son, and Merrick is.
Yeah,
I don't know if that changes much of your viewing.
I think it just makes it so that like like literally the only reason he's in this is because it's his dad. Like, why the fuck does he go back in time? Like, he has no.
Oh, I'm going.
He has just because he muscles his way in because it's his dad. And
ITC's like, another body, totally fine.
Who cares?
We can clean that up. We got PR people for that.
When like in reality that makes no sense to have this civilian
and a huge group of people that you sent back. I think that's one of the challenges. It's like everyone gets separated, and
I think the movie rectifies that almost immediately because like the body count gets pretty high in like 15 minutes. Like first dude gets arrowed, and then Francois goes, and then
the other guy. There was two like generic like security guard guys or whatever, and both of them die. I don't remember how, but they both like maybe the one runs away, and I don't know. But
one
there
gets
was two
slashed.
dudes.
Gets slashed.
Okay, yeah,
with,
maybe that's
right.
With sword.
Yeah, so the two employees. The two employees of the company are gone 5 minutes into the journey, and they both get murked.
Yeah.
But it's good. You have to have the body count, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an adventure movie. There's got to be stakes, I guess. That's showing the stakes is,
Yeah.
They can die. We're not scared to have these people die, have them get killed off. And I mean, I was generally kind of surprised when he killed Neil McDonough
that was good.
That
was good. I think that was the best part of the movie when they're like walking to the castle, and then that big reveal comes out that he's just another employee of ITC that's been lost to time.
Yeah.
It was a good reveal.
Yeah, and just how he's like, I'm not gonna let any of you guys go back. I want you all to stay here. I'm gonna kill you or whatever. And then it's like, oh, okay. But then he just pulls out a sword and he kills him. He's like, oh shit, okay, all right, this guy's crazy. he's gonna do it. Shit.
Yeah, really would have liked to have seen like the Crichton verse, like they have a video set up for people that have come back from this time travel procedure, and they're like all sorts of messed up, and they have like I'm Mr. DNA video. It's like your DNA sucks now.
It's all messed up. They just get
your guts are wrong.
They just get all employed by InGen. They just get sent to Islay, and they send them down there.
Yeah. I like this. All of the people from this experiment that's like, okay, this failed. So you guys are just going to get shifted from like time travel to dinosaurs.
Yes. Yeah.
Like the most dangerous jobs in the world.
I think one of my favorite lines in the movie, which is said by Paul Walker, this is at more at the start before they jump in. And I think I got this verbatim. Personally, I don't care about the hows or the whys. And I think that really is a description of the entire movie.
Yeah,
but I'm on board. Like, if your lead character says that, then I'm like, okay, let's go.
Yeah,
it's similar how Marvel does it. I mean, it's take away the quips, and it's pretty much how Marvel does it. It's like, it doesn't really matter.
Or what that makes me think of is Looper. There's a scene in Looper where Bruce Willis and Joseph Gordon-Levitt like sit down at the diner, and
right.
he's Joseph Gordon-Levitt's like trying to ask him how like the whole thing works with them both being there, and then Bruce Willis basically just like tells him, which feels like the writer telling the audience, like, don't worry about it. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter to like what's going on right now. And so yeah, you gotta give it props for just being like, just don't give a shit. Don't care about it. This is a fun action adventure movie. Just roll with it. Just shut up.
Yeah, I haven't. I don't think I finished it, but I know there's a movie. I think it's like a student film called Primer. That's supposed to be It's, I've heard it's really, really good, but I've heard people talk about it like it's the most like scientifically accurate.
It's airtight time travel
cool.
movie. Yeah. Oh yeah, if you've never seen it, Luke, yeah, it's cool. It's really cool. It's a really cool
awesome.
movie. Yeah.
It's hard to do. I mean, I give him credit. It's one of the toughest things to do.
Yeah.
In writing or any kind of movie, for sure. Yeah, we can't resist. I feel like we love it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's such a good vehicle for having these little moments, these little like, they're supposed to be like aha moments for the audience. Like, you see his lens at the beginning, and then you're supposed to find out how that lens got there, or like the hole in the wall. And at the beginning, she's like, "Who would do such a thing?" She even says it later on. She's like, what son of a bitch?
I'm that son of a bitch.
Yeah,
she was so excited
that's
in
how
that
it goes.
moment. She was so excited that it was her to find out.
Just like, it's me. I get to destroy this priceless piece of like architecture, like artwork.
Yeah, they do a similar thing in Jurassic Park, where in original Jurassic Park, where you have scientists, archaeologists, basically have these specialist nerds are living their dream. Like they're living in their world, and there's a fascination. And they try to do that a little bit, like when they first walk up and see the village. But it's different where Jurassic Park, they do a good job of flipping the switch where they realize that this isn't right. And specifically Dr. Sadler and Dr. Grant in Jurassic Park, they are really excited at the start, and then they realize this isn't the right thing. Ian Malcolm immediately is onto it, but
I mean, it helps if you have
they try
like
to do it.
Steven Spielberg behind the camera and like John Williams doing the score. Like, there's a lot of heavy lifting. Like, I'm not saying that like Richard Donner's like a bad director. He's done some good
I didn't
movies
realize
in the past,
he was the
like,
director. I was just surprised, like, getting ready for this. I was like, Richard Donner did this? I didn't realize that as a kid when I first watched it. I was also reading that Jerry Goldsmith was originally set to do the score, and he was able to finish it because of health reasons. There's a lot of good stuff in this movie. I think the sets, there's not a ton of CGI in this. They're shooting it on location in Canada. There's a lot that I appreciate it. I think there's one point when they're doing the siege battle, and I totally forgot that I was in an action movie. I was like, this feels like I'm just watching a medieval times reenactment. I was kind of digging it, like the trebuchets, and I was like, this is kind of fun. It's like watching.
It all seemed pretty authentic.
Yeah.
The set, some of it made me think of like those battle scenes in like Army of Darkness.
Oh, right. Yeah, sure.
Or I guess maybe like some of the like Lord of the Rings ish. Like the sort of like guys standing at the top with bows and arrows, like that.
The
kind
Helm's Deep.
Like I feel like the way that they go down the stairs fighting. That I feel like there's like a very similar shot in Army of Darkness with like the evil Ash and all of them. But I did notice that. I was like, the sets and the props, the trebuchets look real. Like everything looked
they
pretty
love the
good.
trebuchets.
Yeah.
Oh.
They let us know. Trebuchet.
And
we got to shoot like 7 of these so we can get every like underneath it. Over here. We got to make sure these things are so cool. You're gonna see it like 8 times.
And that's what and that's like the separation between this and like a Sci-Fi Channel movie, like you said, is like there is like big budget like craft and skill going in behind the camera. Just does it all come together? Not really. The script is a big issue with it. And like I said, like I had all these questions, all these nitpicks, but I had a good time with the movie too. Like I honestly, like, I didn't think it was that bad, like just as a movie even. Like, yeah, I had fun. Like, there was a really corny, predictable romance with like Gerard Butler and Anna Friel's character. Weird romance with Paul Walker and Frances O'Connor. You know, a generic like time travel. I don't want to say generic, but like time travel adventure movie. But it was fun. You know, it was a lot of fun. With a
I
lot
will
of
say,
fun people to watch.
I was like worried about time. Like I was worried that like, okay, I gotta finish this movie, but I gotta have dinner too. So I watched maybe the last 15 minutes or so at 1.25 speed. I rented it on YouTube, and I will say it made the movie much funnier.
Oh, I bet. I bet it was a lot more fun.
Like everyone was just like running around. Like the dialogue was mostly okay. Like it didn't sound like chipmunks, but everyone just like speaking very fast at each other, then running around. It was like it's pretty funny.
I have a question about the tunnel. So
Okay.
the tunnel, I must have missed that at the start of the movie where she had this theory about a tunnel. I must have missed that because. So are we assuming the tunnel was filled in and that's why she it was confused. I was a bit confused there. It must have been filled in. I feel like they cut maybe a scene.
I think they don't really explain it, but I did note like when I thought retroactively that when they find the ruins in the present day, it does look like it almost looks like it like the tunnel, or like you don't know that it's a tunnel there, but it looks like it all like caved in behind that, and that like the wall face thing of that, you know, the little design just kind of collapsed on it or into it or whatever. So yeah, there isn't a tunnel or anything. It did cave in, which, you know, could just probably just be from natural. It's over 600 years, so yeah, probably just happened. Which I thought was kind of, because another kind of like funny thing with all the like seeing all the pieces fall into place, like the glasses fall on the ground and like break or whatever. It's like all this stuff didn't have to happen on this day. Like
no,
those could have happened. There's plenty of time where that could have just happened. Just
apparently
randomly,
the monks never cleaned it up after that. They just left everything there. Like we cannot. This is a special moment, and we just will leave it here for the rest of history. It was it was a fun ending. I think it was a bit confusing because you had everyone trying to get to the castle. We didn't know what was going to happen with the lady, like if she was going to get hung or
right.
Yeah. That felt like something that they brought up that I was like, he says like, yeah, her death is what like changes like the course of the battle, because I thought he said like her death is what inspires not the French but the English or whatever to like. No,
it's the French.
It's the French,
like
but it's confusing because like at that point like they're already kicking ass. The French are already like winning that battle, so I don't think they needed.
Yeah. So I was motivation. I thought he was gonna have a weightier decision to make, where it's like, I love this lady, but also if she doesn't die during this, history is going to be altered permanently.
No, he
and
doesn't
instead,
care.
he's like. He's like sproyoyoing, and he's like no.
He was horny. It's been a long doctoral studies in France.
I really wish there was like a scene in present day where Paul Walker was like, well, if you love history so much, why don't you marry it? And then he actually does.
Well, I think when he's looking at the sarcophagus at the beginning, Gerard Butler does say like, you make your own history or something like that. So it's kind of like adjacent to whatever. That's that modern like analytical film viewer brain that I'm talking about, where like that's, again, bringing up Avengers Endgame, like that's the whole conflict with the time travel there, is they have to do everything that they're trying to do in that movie so precisely and exactly, because if they do anything, you know, if they, you know, put a pinky out of line, chaos theory, butterfly effect, right? They could change, make a million different possibilities that splinter off and change the future. But in this, this central figure of this battle that won the 100 Years' War just lives. Like, she lives.
Yeah, it's fine though. It didn't really matter.
Yeah, it's fine.
Apparently.
There is no, they're killing people left and right that maybe would have died that day anyways, but like didn't die because of these people that came back from the future, right? So this movie does not give a shit about chaos theory,
which I appreciate. And maybe it's like
yeah,
you could say it was the Middle Ages. It really didn't matter because people were just doing that all the time, and like,
right,
it really didn't like it wasn't going to change, what
maybe
our laptops look like today.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe the sort of like, I don't know, it's not like a retcon, but Billy Connolly does teach them about Greek fire. So it's like, oh, we don't need her death to make us more like,
but he gave that to the English, not the French.
Oh, okay.
The French
That's
are the
right.
ones that won, and they were the ones who rallied.
But maybe it got them fired up to get in the castle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah.
They were heated in the heat of battle.
But I mean, I guess now that I think about it too, there's the whole thing with like, okay, so this is before they go back into the past, before they, altered or whatever. So they're saying that Lady Claire was hung at this battle and that, won the battle for the French. But also they see the sarcophagus that Gerard Butler, that's his tomb eventually, with her. Those two things shouldn't exist at the same time, right? Because you could either say this is before they went back in time, so Lady Claire died, right? So if she died there, she wouldn't also be entombed with Gerard Butler. But it's like, oh, if you're looking at it after if you're looking at it as like this has already happened, even though Gerard Butler's still here because they haven't went back to the past yet, it's already happened in the past, future, but they're still saying that she died at the battle. These are two conflicting things that exist in the movie at the same time.
Yeah, you know what, TJ? Personally, I don't care about the hows and the whys.
Yes, there you go. Yeah. That would have been a crazy scene, though, if they had spent a little bit more time with the sarcophagus and he like brushed off the side of it and he saw like Merrick on there and he's
if
like,
they'd done any more looking at
what
it.
the hell? Wait
it was
a
really
minute.
like just a layered dirt that she just shoveled.
Yeah.
Like, it was not that. Oh, it's so good. I love it.
Then he's just like, this is my destiny.
I have to do it. And I think one thing that is interesting that I think allows us as viewers to say like the whole thing's blown up is because that one guy stays and like he climbs the ranks of the English army. So essentially like it's all chaos anyways because like he didn't exist beforehand and he's manipulating the future by being there, by trying to like promise things. So by the time our heroes get there to save, it's like the future's already changed. So it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm getting at. But if that's the case, then they wouldn't have the known history that Lady Claire was hung at the battle because if what they did already happened, then she didn't. That's my hang up, I guess.
Yes.
Again, didn't really bring the movie down because I was just like, this movie is already like crazy enough. It is what it is. This may have been a little bit of a happy accident, but I did notice that there's a part getting towards the end, obviously, where it's Ethan Embry and David Thewlis and them like in the lab trying to figure out stuff, and I think Ethan Embry asked him, he's like, how much time do they have left? And then David Thewlis was like 28 minutes, and I checked, and may have just been a coincidence, but that was like just about as much time as left was in the movie. Nice.
Nice work. Timeline. Paid attention to the details.
Yeah.
There was like another detail that I saw in the IMDb trivia that was like during the battle scene, there was a full moon, and it's like if you had gone back to that specific date in history, it would have been a night with a full moon.
Oh, they did show the moon when they were shooting the arrows. I think they tilted up and they showed the moon, which is pretty cool. Which just makes sense why you would have a battle if it was full moon, because the battlefield would have been lit.
Highest visibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
But that's crazy that they like timed that out to be like, oh, historically accurate. It would have been. It's like when we did like Over the Garden Wall. I don't know if we mentioned that, but you see the moon in each episode, and they timed it out so the moon would be in the same phase that the moon would be like the night that it originally aired.
That's amazing.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
That's kind of cool. I didn't take a shitload of notes. I'm glad the conversation kind of sprung some legs, because I was like, I don't know how much I'm to say about
the movie.
this.
Just brought you in. You couldn't resist the timeline, especially at 1.25 speed or 1.5 speed.
Oh, I did have a joke about like when he fell in love with her. I was like, whoa, talking about age gap discourse.
Ooh,
She's about 600 years older than him. You're being groomed.
Yeah, especially when she didn't know it. Like, hey, when they were like flirting in the river. Hey, you seen anybody?
Yeah.
Like,
He's like, you don't understand anything I'm saying, and he's like, he takes that as like, this is endearing me to you, and it should be like,
He loved it.
oh yeah, like, yeah, it's because we're from different times and different, like, yeah, we probably can't relate because we come from hundreds of years apart, but no, it's cute.
yeah.
It was a nice little sitcom moment in there.
Yeah.
In the river.
And you know that there's got to be like a moment like the ending of The Graduate, where as soon as he watches all of his friends get together and they disappear, and then he's like, I have to shit in a bucket in my house for the rest of my I'm gonna die
of my life.
super early
Yeah.
from something stupid.
That's what I was like, as soon as they go back, and I mean they do address that, like, he died, it was like 25 years is how much longer he lived, but I was like thinking, like, on average, I'm like, yeah, they live happily ever after for 5 more years, and then they die of the bubonic plague.
They were great 5 years.
Yeah. That's like basically implied how, like, what happens at the end of the book, which is mostly pretty similar to the movie overall, but instead of just getting like insta killed, in the book they actually can like choose like the time that it goes back to or whatever. So when they send David Thewlis's character back in time, they send him back like a couple decades prior into like the heart of the Black Plague. I'm like, that's fucking metal.
That's dirty. That's brutal.
Yeah.
That's brutal. Do you think he killed his friend or the co-founder when he pushed him? Was that what happened?
I couldn't tell. Like, he pushes him and then he looks at him and like, oh my god, like he kind of has that little moment where he's like, but then he like grabs I think he like kind of holds his head. You don't see any blood, and the guy's still kind of like, maybe he just gave him a concussion. Maybe he just like knocked him out. I don't know.
Yeah, he just like hit his head on like a rack.
I thought for sure he had fallen on a sword, but then I was like, wait, they didn't give them swords. Like, I thought that's what was happening, and he just accidentally fell on a sword. But that would have been too. That would have been too much. That would have been too much.
He got like a light head injury, and he's like, "Oh my god, I killed this guy."
That would not have been too far out of the line for this movie, though. Is there just random sword for this guy to fall on?
That's why I was shocked that it wasn't. I was like, what?
Okay,
this is a perfect opportunity to just put a sword or like a mace or arrows. And just
right?
fall on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to do our thing.
Let's do it. Daughter
Let's do it.
Spud. Do we make the guest go first on these, or do we just kind of do it randomly?
Randomly, if like, I guess I like to go us first. So they can kind of get sort of a litmus, like a better idea of like, how,
Okay,
at
sure.
least with Dud versus Spud, because it is a weirder.
Yeah.
I acknowledge that it is a weirder rating scale than the others. So I'll start. Mine's gonna sound weird because I did enjoy the movie. Like, I almost think it's like not a bad movie, but in terms of like Spud versus Dud, I lean Dud because I wasn't like, and the reason for like this like Dud over Spud is that I wasn't like laughing out loud at the movie too much. It definitely had its moments. Like the making their poopy diaper faces when they were like going back in time. Paul Walker being a major creep. The fact that they made like a hunk like Paul Walker into like this kind of creepy dude. is kind of impressive. You know, and I had all these questions for it, but mostly like my enjoyment was genuine. I was just having a good time, and that's how it differentiates from being like a spud versus dud. So on the dud spud scale, it's a dud, but I don't think it's like a bad movie or anything. So, you know.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same spot there where watching it, I was like, oh, some of the moments I'm like, okay, this is kind of convoluted and weird, and it's like they'll come back to like other characters and what they're up to, and I'm like reminded that these characters and these plot lines exist. I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's still got something going on. Like they split up the main party, and like I don't think the distribution of like screen time was like even to make everything cohesive,
Right?
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did have a few moments where I kind of giggled and laughed, especially like the facial I think bad facial acting is what I wrote down in my notes. It's so good. And then so like on the dud or spud scale, it wasn't like The Room or Ben and Arthur or Who Killed Captain Alex, like that. Those are kind of like our gold standards of like so bad it's good movies. But yeah, on like a normal movie scale, I would put it at like a 5 or a 6. Like it wasn't. It's the most 2003 movie of all time. Like movies from that time period just have a certain look to them and a certain charm to them. You know, I feel like everyone's got one of those movies that they saw in 2003, and it's like, you know what? It might not be the greatest thing, but like I still love it. Because like before you hopped in, we were talking about Jurassic Park 3. Mm-hmm. And I was able to pull details from that movie that I'm like, why do I remember this? And it came out around that time. Because like the original Jurassic Park was like what, 94, 93?
93, yeah.
I was like 2 years old.
It was the same year as Nightmare Before Christmas, because it beat it for we talked about that on the last episode.
Oh yeah. But it's like, you know, I saw Jurassic Park later in life for sure, but when it came out, I was like very, very young. But I saw Jurassic Park 3 in theaters, like with my family, and it's like that's a 2003 movie, and I'm like able to pull details from it that it's like it left a mark on me, obviously. So it's like I love that like everybody's got one of those movies. For me, it's like The Last Samurai. I love that movie. Who knows if it's aged well? But it's like there's a certain charm and feel to them that you just it's kind of a warm blanket of a movie. And like I said, the sets were pretty good. The medieval stuff was not bad. It was, you know, it could have been a lot worse in terms of that. So it's a dud, but it's an enjoyable dud.
Yeah.
All right. So the budget of this film was $80 million. Do you want to guess what it grossed worldwide?
I think I did see this statistic, so I'll abstain.
I did not. I'm gonna say low. I'm gonna say 60.
TJ, you are close, but high. It grossed $43 million.
I almost said 40. Shit.
So this is statistically on paper a dud. This was not a successful movie. It definitely was a dud, but if you are an 8th grade science teacher or social studies teacher, and let's say you were hanging out with friends, maybe you have a bowling league, or you know you're playing D&D with your friends on a Thursday. You know you had an extra whiskey or two than you normally do. You're coming in, they all have this middle school energy, and you know what? You need to show them a movie. You need something that will grab their attention, that won't be offensive, that's appropriate for school, for middle schoolers, for 15-year-olds. That has some historical accuracy that you could talk about. This is the movie for you. Timeline is the movie that you can play, and it's going to make an impact. So for me, it's a spud for that reason alone, but also just the enjoyment of going back to this era where they just don't make movies like this anymore. And they probably shouldn't, and a lot of people would say that. But for me, it's so enjoyable to go back into this world. It's so serene and peaceful. It gives me a lot of comfort. Like, this movie is a warm blanket and a cup of cocoa on a cold November day.
Yeah?
Yeah. No,
so Spud for me.
Awesome. That does like give any movie from this point like there is like such like I have such rose tinted glasses now for movies that from this era that like I haven't seen that just have this vibe. But I will say, turn to Gerard Butler if you want to see modern movies that feel like these.
Right.
Because I have went through a recent, just for no reason at all. It just so happens that he does a lot of movies like this. But just over this like past year, I watched like Geostorm or Greenland or there's another one. But he's in all these like very over the top like disaster movies that are very simple, do not take themselves too seriously, and it's like it's the same vibe of just, you know, fun, dumb action, you know. So it's very very similar, but I guess the difference with this one is that like the ones nowadays are not directed by people like Richard Donner or like John McTiernan, who did The 13th Warrior, and they don't have these huge casts. These new ones, like Greenland, has Gerard Butler and what's her name from Firefly, but then they're like the only like actors. Or like Geostorm might have a couple more, but it's like you have that, but like this huge cast of all these different characters, which just makes it a lot more fun too.
I feel like there really aren't that many character actors anymore.
No.
I feel like a lot
Not
of the
new
character
ones,
actors
yeah.
now are like, they've been character actors forever. Like they're, like, I mean, I always come to Emmett Walsh, but he was in Knives Out. I'm like, oh yeah, he's been in a bunch of movies. And with like modern filmmaking, everyone like has to be a star. Like, and they're really, it's an interesting phenomena that I'm kind of sad that it's not around anymore, because that's like some of my favorite movies have these ensemble casts of just like guys who've been in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Usually it's like, oh yeah, this guy was in like a handful of episodes of like the X-Files or Law and Order or like any of those like, you know, kind of cop shows. Yeah.
I do have some recommendations if people want to do more of timeline-esque movies. I've got two that people might be interested. If you're interested in the feeling of timeline, first one, this came out in 2000. It's called Vertical Limit, starring Chris O'Donnell and Bill Paxton.
Hell yeah,
as well.
dude.
It's very kind of similar, just like plot line where it's a rescue mission climbing Mount Everest, I believe, or Kilimanjaro, Mount Everest.
I think it's Mount Everest, yeah.
There's the explosives that they have to bring up to like blow up the ice to find, and it's Chris O'Donnell's finding his sister. So it's kind of another idea, like a family member is lost in a perilous situation. You've got a lot of great character actors ensemble, crazy, insane like science,
dude,
and inaccuracy. So Vertical Limit is definitely one that is in this genre on your bookshelf or in the Blockbuster video. It's right next to
Nicholas Lay is in it. He's Krychek in X-Files. I rest my case.
That's one when Nick was talking about like Jurassic Park or the third one or whatever. I was like racking my brain trying to think of like that movie for me. Vertical Limit might be that movie for me. I've seen this movie so many fucking times. The opening sequence where their dad dies is like burned into my brain.
Oh, that one's it's so good. Yeah, these Vertical Limit and this film Timeline are two of those movies that I watched at that age. It was PG-13 fun action movies but like were very appropriate, that, you know, like my parents would let me rent or friends would rent. Really fun. And then probably not as similar, I think this one is a little bit more critically acclaimed, is Reign of Fire. That's probably aged better because
I also thought of that
actors,
one when watching this. Yeah,
I think it's a very underrated movie with two amazing leads, obviously with Matthew McConaughey and Christian Bale. But that I think that one is a little bit more prestigious because of who they are and what they've done since. There's another Christian Bale movie that I really like. That's an action movie, and I think that was 2001. Equilibrium.
That movie's awesome. Yeah,
that's a great one.
That's really
cool. From this area. It's almost like a 1984 action movie of 1984, and The Matrix.
That's a good way to put it.
Smashed together.
Yeah,
it's a fun one.
Yeah. Yeah, I
That's
watched that one for the first time like last year or the year before, and it was really neat. I'd heard a lot about it. It has its fans for sure.
This is
that's really
crazy.
neat.
I looked up both of those movies on IMDb as you said that. Both of those movies even share actors.
Wow.
Isabella Scorupco and Alexander Siddig they both are in Vertical Limit and Reign of Fire.
Oh, I didn't know she was in that. Yeah, she's Natalia from Goldeneye, which is directed
Right.
by the guy that did
Martin
Vertical
Campbell.
Limit.
Yeah, Martin Campbell.
Yep.
Which I didn't realize Martin Campbell did. Like again, those are big. Donner, Martin Campbell. Those are pretty high level directors directing these movies. That
I know,
Again,
yeah.
you're not getting with Geostorm.
Yeah, yeah, that's.
Sorry,
Oh, he
sorry
did,
to the team at Geostorm if you're listening.
Oh, he did Casino Royale too.
Yep.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. Did two. He did the two most modern reboot Bond movies.
New
and they're
Bond, yeah.
Some of the best ones.
Definitely. Definitely some of the best.
But character actors, finding character actors nowadays too. I would almost say that's maybe shifted to television.
Right.
Because
it has.
because one that I thought of when I was thinking of what's a good ensemble character actor show, and it's probably because David Thewlis is in it too, but Fargo is just rife for
Right.
Oh,
character actor central. That's that entire show is people like that, or more corny, less seriously, American Horror Story kind of fits that bill too. There's a
Right.
lot of people who get to kind of go outside of the norm to showcasing their acting chops, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. Oh, that just kind of came to mind. Gerard Butler's also in Reign of Fire. Just wanna say.
I saw that.
He
Yeah.
is? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
he
Oh,
is.
my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been
What
a
a-
while
what
since
a
I've
run.
seen that one, but
What a run.
But I remember liking that. Yeah. Yeah, I gotta look at a list of movies from 1999 to 2004 and just make a watch list of this type of oeuvre. Gotta
Yeah.
think of a name for that. It's it is dumb fun blockbuster kino. I don't know, something there. Did you have anything that you want, Nick?
I mean, Chloe and I have just been watching a shitload of Jeopardy lately. I
Okay.
discovered that it's on Pluto TV. You can watch
Oh.
thousands of episodes of it. Nothing post
Trebek.
the death of Alex Trebek, but we just picked a random spot. I think the beginning of season 34, episode 7,600 and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like most things, I sort of rediscovered it through TikTok, which is annoying to say out loud, but I'm not too ashamed to admit it.
Okay.
Well, the Jeopardy people are very smart in this, in that they've created a TikTok account where they will basically do an entire category as a short form video.
That's
so
pretty
it'll be
smart.
video game characters. And the other night we had dinner and I found it on my phone and we just sat there and scrolled through every single video that they had and tried to guess it. And so I'm like, do you want to just watch Jeopardy? And so we just watched God, I forget his name. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the list of the grand champions.
Somewhat. I used to watch it all the time when I was at home, when I lived.
It was
at home.
2017. He's the bartender from New York. God, I forget his name. He's very sort of flamboyant and funny. Whenever the beginning of the episode would start and they're introducing, there's one where he's miming doing a Rubik's cube or that kind of stuff. I think it's an A name.
You're talking about Austin, right?
Yes, Austin.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
So over the weekend we watched his entire run. It was 12 episodes, and it was just
Okay.
I was we got to go to bed. But then we're you want to watch another
sucked
one?
in.
It's yeah.
Trebek's
Yeah.
guest.
It's so, but and it's just one of those shows. If I visit my parents' place, I'll 9 times out of 10 I'll be late leaving because Jeopardy will come on, and I'll just do that
Right.
thing where I stand in the middle of a room with my hands in my hips and watch and just try to guess. And it's I'll watch the entire show with them. So it's been fun rediscovering how much I love that show, and I don't know if we're ever going to finish Futurama or Mad Men or any of the other shows that we've started.
I really love how Jeopardy's just overtaken your life. That's good.
It has. It
40
has.
seasons of Jeopardy.
That's a healthy thing to take over your life, I feel.
It goes all the way back.
Yeah.
Like, it has like season 1 on Pluto TV.
Damn.
So like you could go all the way back to like 1984 or whatever when Trebek took over.
Yeah.
It's
yeah, we haven't done it in a while. They just happen spontaneously. But like me and Clea will just the like Game Network channel, like whatever it is on like our Samsung TV thing, whatever that channel is. Just turn it on and we will spend literally the entire day just watching that. Like old shit from like the 70s. Like with and you'll see Alex Trebek pop up in some of them because he's been doing it that long. Like Double Dare, I know he was on that one. The $1 Million Pyramid, or I think it was like $100,000 Pyramid at the time. There's other ones. The ones like I think the celebrities were on Double Dare. That's a really good one. But there's other like celebrity panel ones with like people who were big stars on TV in the 70s.
Oh,
You're like,
dude,
I
my
know
grandma watched
two of these people.
So good.
My grandma watched Hollywood Squares. Like,
yeah, I like that
religiously.
show too. Yep. Yeah.
Like I was probably the only kid in my class who knew who Charo was.
Oh yeah.
I wonder why I focused on her specifically as a child. I can't put that together. I don't know what it was. I think Gilbert Gottfried was on that too. My grandma was always like, I don't like him. But yeah, man, game shows. Yeah, it's pretty much all my parents watch now when I go over there. Like during the summer, we'll go over there for like 4th of July, and it's just like everything is a backdrop to like Cash Cab. Cash Cab is just it's Cash Cab Marathon. That's all we're watching. And I think because it's trivia, that's why it's so endearing.
Right.
And it's lasted so long.
Yeah,
it's because it sucks you in. Mm-hmm. Even stuff that I have no idea what it is, I just get totally sucked into it.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not going to talk about it, but I did just remember that I did also watch another Gerard Butler action movie this week called Gamer.
Oh yeah.
Is that the prison one?
No, it's like it's like this real life video game where like people, like the people playing the game control real people.
But if you die in real life. Or is that, okay.
The game is
All
called
right.
Slayers, and they're like it's like an online shooter, but it's real people. And it's supposed to be like they're all like death row inmates, but it's kind of like Gladiators. Like if they win a certain number of matches, they can win freedom. And Gerard Butler's character has won. He's only like 3 matches away from getting out and stuff. And it's a lot of fun. But I only brought it up because I was like, oh yeah, I literally watched another Gerard Butler action movie.
That's a very early 2000s movie premise.
Yeah, right.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
Holding the banner strong for those type of movies.
Yeah.
Gerard Butler.
These are people say Tom Cruise is the last like action or like last movie star. It's like nobody's talking about Gerard Butler. So now it's time to we'll draw next week's movie, and then we'll say our goodbyes. So I'll
Let's do it.
do that. Got a regular.
And hey, if you like it, feel free to join us. If it's a movie that who knows what's in there.
This is fun. I mean, yeah, if you pull out Vertical Limit, I'll be there.
Can we just do Vertical Limit? No. Here's another one of our. I forgot what you called these, Nick, but like you said this is kind of our niche, like these little homework movies.
Okay.
We're gonna do from 1956, directed by Stanley Kubrick, The Killing. It's the first movie of
hell yeah.
Kubrick.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Never
Yeah,
seen
there's
it.
a lot of his. Yeah.
It's
I've
on,
seen the
like-
staples.
Right. Yeah. It's on like Tubi. It's like it's very easy to find because I think a lot of people like don't even. I mean, it's from what I know. I haven't seen it. It's it's not like a Stanley Kubrick film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be different, but it's just a
Cool.
curiosity. First movie of a great director, always interesting to check out. I guess I should look it up, right? The Killing, not to be confused with The Killer that just came out.
Oh,
The
yeah.
one that I still need to check out. Oh, it's on YouTube for free, I guess.
There you go.
That doesn't surprise me.
Pluto TV, Amazon. Yeah, you got plenty of options to watch The Killing if you don't want to be spoiled for it before next week's episode. These episodes come out every Wednesday at 7 p.m. EST on Twitch and YouTube in video form, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more in audio form. We also have social pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And once again, thank you, Luke, for coming on the show. This was a really
Thank
fun
you.
discussion.
Thanks, guys.
I love the avenues that our conversation went down.
It was so much
Yeah,
fun.
what
Thanks.
what do you got going on? What projects do you want to plug here?
Least Important Things, you can find that wherever you listen to podcasts, leastimportantthings.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Luke H. Ferris and TikTok, Least Important Things. We have a bunch of episodes coming out, anything from best songs to walk to we just did an episode about TV show finales or show holes when you finish a TV show and that feeling of despair after you finish it. So I describe our show as if Anthony Bourdain's No Reservations and This American Life went to Comic-Con. That's kind of the premise of the show, to get as vague as possible.
good.
So it's storytelling, it's editing, but I like to get involved with folks that are following me on social. So a lot of times before I write an episode, I'll put a question out, and then people can get involved and share their answers, and that'll be part of the episode. So I like to get people involved.
That's good, yeah.
And
Nice.
We're just exploring things that don't matter that really do matter in our lives, like timeline.
Yeah.
That's it's a very good premise for a show.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. And I guess with all that said, I'm just the guy who like knows people who doesn't really have any qualifications on being here, but I'm just kind of here, and I don't care about the hows or the whys. I'm TJ, and with me as always.
And as always, there's only one thing worse than dying here, and that's living here. I am Nick, and joining us today is
Luke, future International Technology Corp executive / director. It's a lot of bodies we got to clean up.
Wow, it's an honor. All right.
yes. Remember us, the little guy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.